Welcome again to Ancient Tales for today. We're sure glad that you've joined us for another interesting story from this very old book. Today's lesson is a continuation from the last time. You know that there's a new leader for Israel and they're going into the promised land. Today, they're going to, you'll want to stay by and listen because some walls are going to come tumbling down. Walls tumbling down, 这个城墙要崩塌. So stay by because we've got an interesting lesson coming up.
Story 74, Collapsing Walls. From the ancient tales comes a very surprising story. It is one of the strangest ways of capturing a city you'll ever hear. Jericho is the first city of the Promised Land to be conquered. The scouts have already explored the area and know that although the city is well defended, the people living there are afraid. The gates are shut tight. Joshua follows the instructions he is given. Heaven tells him to have the people of Israel march around the city for 6 days, with the priests blowing ram's horns like trumpets. So the people follow these instructions. They march around Jericho for 6 days. If you had been living in Jericho, you must have wondered what they were doing. Maybe you would have become even more frightened. Then, on the 7th day, the people were not just to march around the city, but to give a loud shout when they were told, for the city was being given to them. So, that is what they did. They marched around the city, and when Joshua told them to shout, they shouted, and all the walls of the city came crashing down. What an amazing scene! Imagine being there as those walls collapsed and the people of Israel ran into the city to conquer it. The people of Jericho had trusted in the walls to protect them, but those walls could not stand against the will of heaven. The battle was lost before it began. We may face some barriers in life that seem to us like the high walls of Jericho. How could you ever break them down? But there are many ways that these barriers can be removed, like the walls of Jericho that fell when the people of Israel shouted. If we trust the way of heaven, there is no limit to what can happen. Remember those walls that came crashing down.
Okay, now we've listened to the story, and we're so glad that Mrs. Ash has read this story to us. Now we're going to look at it sentence by sentence. From the Ancient Tales. Ancient Tales is this book that we're talking about. The Christian Church calls it the Bible, 圣经. We call it the Ancient Tales because it's mostly stories. From the Ancient Tales comes a very surprising story. Okay, surprising usually has the idea 使人很惊奇, but in this case it could be 很有意思的故事, a surprising story. It is one of the strangest ways of capturing a city that you will ever hear. Okay? One of the strangest, 最奇怪其中之一, one of the strangest ways of capturing. To capture a city, so to capture a person is 捉拿. To capture a city, 捉拿一个城市. Yeah, I guess you could say it that way. To capture a city, that you will ever hear. You just won't have the opportunity of hearing this kind of story. Now, Jericho is the first city in the promised land that needs to be conquered. 占领 is conquer. Okay, so here they've come across the river and they're in the promised land. 已经到了这个应许之地. Now, the very first city is Jericho, 耶利哥城, and this must be conquered. That means it must be 必须被他们占领的. Going on, the scouts have already explored the area. Scouts, the 探子, okay? These scouts have already explored the area. 查探. Okay, 查探. The area, and they know that although the city is well defended, 虽然这个城市是防御的很好, okay? Defended very well. The people there, living there, are afraid. Now remember the story, the last 2 stories ago, we talked about Rahab, remember that? And the spies that went there. And she told them that everybody was afraid of Israel and afraid of their God. Okay? So, that's the situation there. Okay? Jericho is the first city to be conquered. The scouts have already explored the area. They know that although the city is well defended, the people there are afraid. The gates are shut tight. 门已经关得紧紧的. Go ahead. Next. Joshua follows the instructions that he is given. Of course, God is telling him what he is supposed to do. God is telling him how to do this. Heaven tells him, 这个天国, tells him to have the people of Israel march around the city for 6 days. Okay? March around the city. 要在这个城墙外面游行6天. Okay? 6天. With the priests blowing ram's horns like trumpets. You know what a ram's horn is? A ram is a young, 公羊. And horns 是它的角. Okay? And so they make them into a 喇叭, a horn. So they blow the horns. It's called a ram's horn or a trumpet, okay? And so they're going around the city every day, one time around the city, and they're making this noise. So the people follow the instructions. They follow the instructions. 教导, 天国的教导就是说你要这样做。And they did that. They did do it. To follow instructions means to 遵守, to show. Okay? They marched around Jericho for 6 days. Each day, one time. And then rest. One time. Now, if you had been living in Jericho, 如果你是住在耶利哥城, okay, and you must have wondered what they were doing. Very strange behavior. 奇怪的行为. What are you doing? This is war. 这是战争啊. And they're just walking around the city and blowing the ram's horn trumpet. Maybe you would have become more frightened. 肯定他们更加害怕 because this is strange. 非常奇怪。从来没看过，也没听过。Going on to the next one. Then on the 7th day, 第七天, the people were not just to march around the city and give a loud shout. They were told, but to give a loud shout when they are. On the 7th day, they went around 7 times. Whoa, 7 times. And as they went around the city 7 times, at the last time, they were to shout with all their energy. 大声叫. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops, just 7, that's all. And on the 7th time, they were to shout. And then, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have to wait just a little bit. First of all, we're going to have some light on our path, and then we'll come back. Now, for light on the path. Okay, now we come to some light on our path. We're going to look right now at Joshua 6:16.
约书亚记的6章16节。
It's a very small verse. Well, I mean, it's not small, it's a short verse. And it simply says, the 7th time around, when the priest sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the city.
这个约书亚记6章16节呢，说到了第7次祭司吹角的时候，约书亚吩咐百姓说：“呼喊吧，因为耶和华已经把城交给你们了。”艾老师，很奇妙的一个方法啊！如果我们读这个故事，我们知道，上帝吩咐的方法真的是奇妙。我们人的话要去占领一个城的话，我们会用战争啊，会打枪啊，用枪炮，武力的。但是上帝的方法太奇妙，您可不可以解释一下？
Well, Lena, it looks to me like if you use 人的方法, if you used a human method, a human way of solving it, then who looks good? 谁得到荣耀？
人，还有武器。
Yeah, of course. And the bigger your 武器, the better you are. So I think sometimes God uses His method so that at the very end, you can't not say, oh, look what I did. You can only say, wow, look what God did. You see, so I think that's the reason why. It does seem strange. I mean, on the last day, they marched around the city 7 times. One day. How many people? maybe a million people.
对
100万，
对，
不是开玩笑哦。So maybe not everybody was there, but it was a huge group. Okay, that's all the time we have for Light on Our Path. Okay, now we come to the exciting part. So, that's what they did. They went around the city 7 times and then they shouted 大声叫. Okay? And they shouted. And the walls of the city came crashing down. 这个城墙就倒塌. Okay? 崩塌. In other words, 这个城墙 fell over. Well, that's an easy way of solving the war. Okay, I sing you a song. Well, I'm not a singer. Trust me, I'm not a singer. But I remember teaching our children, 我2个孩子, 男孩子, the story of Joshua, and we had a song that went something like this. Joshua with the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua with the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. So, that's what happened. The walls of the city came crashing down. What an amazing scene! Whoa! 一个非常奇妙的景象. Imagine being there as the walls collapsed. 在你的想象力就可以看到你是在这个地方. Imagine being there, and as you're watching, the walls begin to shake, and then suddenly they just fall over. And the people of Israel, 这个以色列人跑到里面去占领它. Wow, that's an easy way to win a war. Probably the easiest possible way of winning a war that you can think of going on. The people of Jericho had trusted the walls. They trusted the walls. The walls, 这个城墙, were very thick and very high. 他们信任的是这个城墙. But those walls could not stand against the will of heaven. 没办法抵挡天国的旨意. 没办法. If the God of heaven, if heaven said the walls are to fall down, the walls will fall down. Okay? The battle was lost before it began. 即使这个事实上是这样. The battle, 这个战斗 was lost before it began. 还没有开始，已经算是输了. 为什么? Because God had decided that the walls were going to fall down. And the walls did fall down. So that's the reason why we can say the battle was won or was lost before it began. We may face some barriers in life. Okay, you know what a barrier is? A barrier is something that stands in our way. Okay, 障碍. We may face some barriers 在我们的人生 in our life that seem to us as high as the walls of Jericho. Very high, 好像这个耶利哥城的城墙一样。How could we ever break them down? 我们怎么能够推倒这些城墙？ How could we ever solve our problems? 解决我们的问题。Do you know how? Well, let's take a look here. Next. Well, maybe I should sing the song one more time before we look at these last couple sentences. And maybe you will remember this song. Maybe you can sing it along with me. I already sang it once. Joshua with the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua with the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. And then, of course, that's the chorus, 副歌, and then there's more. And I won't sing that. If you really want to hear somebody sing, then we have to get Mrs. Ash to come back and sing for us. Don't think that's possible, not today at least. Okay, but there are many ways to overcome our barriers in life. 我们人生发生障碍的时候, there are many ways to overcome these. Okay, to overcome 胜过或处理. Okay, sometimes, of course, you can remove the barriers. 可以除掉, 拿掉, get rid of the barriers. That's one way of doing it. Or if you can't remove it, go around it. There are many ways of solving life's problems. Like the walls of Jericho that fell when the people shouted. 很像这个耶利哥城的这个城墙倒塌. When the people shouted, if we trust the way of heaven, 如果我们相信信任天国, there is no limit. 没有这个底线. There is 不限制. There is no limit. What can happen? God will help you and me. He has helped me. Many times, God has helped me. Remember that those walls that came crashing down, and this story is able to give us courage that we can overcome our obstacles too. Well, we're almost done with our lesson, but there are a few words you need to know. And now for some words you need to know. The first one is capturing.
Capturing.
Good.
占领.
Zhanling, that's right. To capture a city is to 占领一个城市. Okay, and then another one is march.
游行.
Okay, now I'm not so sure. I know 游行 is kind of like a parade.
对 ，parade 是游行，但是这个呢，好像是我们说，操兵的那种，就是军队那种。
这个用一些步伐。
对，军队的那种步操。
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So marching in this case, but since these were probably in those days maybe not so well organized. 我不晓得，反正
不抄应该是。
不抄，
对。
可能 OK. The next one is crashing down.
哦，倒塌了。
Okay, the walls came crashing down. I'll say 这个城墙就
城墙倒塌了。
倒塌了。Okay, to come crashing down. Okay, and now for the last one, in the words we need to know is there is no limit.
没有限制 ，no limit.
No limit. Limit. So sometimes in this case, we say no limit. Sometimes I will limit you. 我会限制你。Okay, so limit is the key word, and then you can use it many different ways. So if there's no limit, 没有限制. And that's all the time we have for words you need to know. Well, have you had an enjoyable time in today's lesson? I enjoyed telling you about it, even sort of enjoyed singing a little bit about it. Okay, the walls of Jericho came down. 我们所面临的障碍也会像那些城墙一样，会被神推倒。Okay, those walls came down. Our obstacles can come down too. God will help us. Well, in our next lesson, we're going to talk about something very interesting. The title is just a single word, fake. Do you know what fake means? 假的. And you'll want to join us then as we look at another most interesting story.
That's all for today, and thanks for watching. If you like Ancient Tales for Today, please visit atft.chinesehope.tv. You may also contact us by writing to ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Again, that's ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Tell your friends about Ancient Tales for Today. See you next time.